Hey everyone, so before we get started here, we're going to do a message from our sponsor, Chirp, CHIIRP. What they do is they provide automation to your company. So they do ringless voicemail, text, and email. If you go to a customer's home and you do a really good job of executing the customer performance, but 6 months later they forget your name because you didn't leave a card behind, maybe they threw the card out, well, Chirp makes it impossible for any customer in your database to forget about you. You send them reminders, hey, we need to do a tune-up. Hey, you're due for your oil change. Hey, we just want to let you know that we're thinking about you and we care that you're a customer of ours and thank you for using our business. Chirp is the best way to reach out to your customer base and they are a sponsor of this podcast. So go ahead and check them out, CHIIRP.
Welcome to the Ryan and Nate's Business Podcast. Come listen to these two blue-collar business guys. Nate, your go-to automotive repairer, and Ryan, your local heating and air contractor, talk about business, how to help you, and hear stories from our local unsung heroes. Community matters to them, and so does a healthy business. Here's Ryan and Nate.
Yeah, today we have James Griner. He is the CEO and founder of Waterford Business Solutions. It's a financial advisory firm. They help small businesses do all kinds of things related to finance. They're based in South Carolina, but their clients are all over and he serves them virtually. So you don't have to be in his backyard to use his services. Ryan has used Waterford for years now. And at every meeting, James finds ways to save Beltway heating and air conditioning money and gives a side-by-side comparison of Beltway versus the rest of the industry, so that Beltway can know how they compare to everybody else. So here's the man who brings all the value. James, welcome to the show, buddy.
Absolutely. It's good to be here, guys. How are y'all doing today?
This is great, man. Thanks for coming on. Our goal for you today is just to imagine yourself talking to small business owners and somebody who's maybe tried to do this themselves, all these financial things themselves, carry the weight of all of that. And you've made it easy for Beltway to do what they do. So thanks for being here, talking a little bit about the value that your company adds.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. It's something I enjoy doing, talking with small business owners and helping out anyone that I really can there to understand really what's going on in their business, whether they are big enough for a financial advisor, big enough for an accounting firm, or whether they're just starting out as a one-man show, as a truck out there on their own, going out on their own, needing to really understand what is the legality, what is the financial implication of what they're getting into. And that's just really what I enjoy, is talking with everyone there and helping from that $10,000 a month show all the way up to doing $2-3 million a month is something that's always a challenge, and every single client's fun, different, and provides a new puzzle. And that's the fun part about it.
So you would say that's the threshold, is if you're doing about $10,000 a month, that's when you need an accounting service?
We generally recommend clients looking basically around $10,000 to $15,000 a month in sales coming in, because at that point, if your profitability is where it should be, you should still be clearing somewhere in the range of $2,000 to $4,000 a month in profit, so that adding in a secondary or an outside service there isn't going to zap the money that you need to live yourself, along with the money that you need to continue growing your business. Because any business that's really just starting out, fresh getting started, there's so much in startup costs. There's so much in getting your name out there. There's so much that you've got to do with advertising and everything, that I'd rather you make sure that you're going out and focusing on getting that business with a solid foundation, so that you've got clients coming in, customers coming in, calls coming in, leads coming in, to continue the growth of your business, and then worry about the accounting. Yes, it helps, but there's going to be so much outlay. There's going to be so much monetary outlay that you've got to do up front, that really your first year in business, that's going to be more of a tax situation that we need to look at there, not let's streamline processes. Let's make sure that we're making as much money off of each and every job possible. So yeah, around that $10,000, $15,000 mark, leaves enough money left over so that someone just starting out has enough money to really live still, along with being able to continue growth in their business and be able to pay for any accounting service coming on and helping them out.
What do you say to the guy? You threw out a couple numbers like $10,000 a month in revenue, having a couple $1,000s left over, it would be good profitability. I'm imagining the guy who's working in an electrician in the one-man show in a truck. He's passionate about what he does. He's passionate about running wires and making sure everyone are safe and doing services that way. But those numbers, he in his mind, he's like, I don't even know what my numbers are. Like, where does he start?
So really, anyone should start with getting an accounting platform. Even if you're not doing it 100% accurate, being able to have a platform, whether you're using QuickBooks Online, whether you're using Xero, whether you're using an Excel spreadsheet, but taking the time to just kind of throw, hey, I made this sale, I spent this money on it, and understanding kind of not, hey, I've got $2,000 in the bank account, but hey, I've got $2,000 in the bank account, and this is why I have $2,000 in the bank account. Do I expect any electrician, any tradesman that's going out on their own and starting this to be able to do that on their own? No, not really. But still, the effort to get there is going to be 10 times more important, because even if you're not accurate with that, even if you don't understand exactly what you're doing there, you really are still going to start noticing trends. Where we come in a lot with clients and where we try to help our clients is translate those trends. So Ryan, you're very familiar with this. We come in every single month and talk with you there on, hey, here's profitability. Here's where your expenses are going. This expense is out of whack. And yes, long term, you want that to be your goal. But when you're just starting out, you've got to prioritize things. And prioritizing 100% money understanding is never going to be physically possible. Let's start with that. Just because you did not go to school to be an accountant, you didn't go to school to be a business owner. Not everyone, but a lot of people, when you're starting out in the trades, when you're starting out in blue collar jobs, it's not like you've got an MBA behind you. And trust me, I've got clients that have MBAs, and we sit down and we look at the things and they're like, oh my word, like I didn't even know that. And I'm like, you wouldn't know it, because just because you have an MBA doesn't mean you understand all this stuff going on here. So if you didn't go to school specifically for this, you're not going to specifically understand this. So we want to spend a little bit of time working to understand that, but at the same time, we want to recognize that you went to school to be an electrician. You went to school to be an auto mechanic. You went to school to be an HVAC contractor. Whatever it is that you may be doing, whether it is that you went to school, whether it is that you've been doing this for 10, 20 years apprenticing with someone else and you've decided to go out on your own, whether it is that you've done hours and hours and hours of training, whatever it is that you ended up doing here to get that knowledge, that's where your knowledge base lies, is how not to electrocute me when I go to turn on my light switch. Whereas I might accidentally do that. I have done that. Whereas I understand where legally these numbers need to go, where financially these numbers need to go, how the tax return needs to work out. And also, I work with enough clients to really understand not just where the IRS says things need to go, because that's the necessary evil of accounting. Any accountant can theoretically protect you from the IRS. But with what I really work with and what I really try to do is focus in on the blue collars, on the trades, because that's where I understand where the metric should be, where the number should be. So instead of just saying, hey, we're protected from the IRS, now we can take it a step further and say, hey, we're protected from the IRS. And now we understand what you have set as the goals of your business.
Yeah.
So any business owner, whether you're using me, whether you're working on your own, you need to set up your 3-5-year goal plan so that you can look at your business that way. You can look at your finances that way.
James, Yeah, you've done a great job of telling us like what you do so far and what you have done so far with clients. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get? Why are you working with small business and start a firm to help small business instead of working for a big accounting firm somewhere? Like, how did you get to this spot in your business story?
Absolutely. So honestly, I never really thought that I was going to do this. That was never really the plan. Wanted to be like an architect or an automotive engineer, designing new vehicles and everything. And ultimately, my family, when I was growing up, at the age of, Lord, I think I wasn't even born, one of my uncles started a landscaping company. Another uncle, when I was like 2, had an HVAC company that he started. Another uncle, when I was like 7, started a house washing and pressure washing company. So when I was growing up, if I wasn't in school, my family was working together at these different shops, at these different things. And so I was there. That's where my after school care was. Literally at the age of 2, 3, I was sitting in the front office of my family's landscape company at one of those like Fisher Price plastic desks, tables that you have when you're a kid. And that was my desk in the front office. Like literally I had crayons and paper and everything. And I would come in after daycare and the receptionist would like give me work to do. So like I was doing that at the age of 2.
Do you still have crayons on your desk right now? Like,
I don't think right now.
No crayons. Okay,
crayons in the office.
That'd be pretty awesome if you could pull up like a coloring book and you were still doing it.
But that's what I was doing at 2, 3. And as I got older, it was like, hey, like go help out so-and-so unload the truck. Go help out like things like that. And in the summer, like, hey, you got to go out. Like you're not sitting at home playing video games. You are going out and you're like mowing lawns. You're helping to install HVAC. Like I was 12 installing HVAC units. Granted, could I legally do it? Let's not talk about that. But family business stuff in the South, like a little bit of a difference there.
Well, family business, you got to dump the trash. You got to do, you got to do everything. Paint,
exactly.
Make it all happen. You got to make it happen. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I kind of grew up doing. And as I got older, 12, 13, 14, obviously I was still there during the day, and it was something, okay, we're going to put you in the back office. And so I started helping out with the dispatching, with the recording of the invoices, sending the invoices, helping with paying bills and stuff, and really helping to streamline some of the processes there with our businesses. And family friends kind of saw it, and I got involved there and helping their businesses, and it just kind of snowballed into starting Waterford. And ended up starting Waterford ultimately because I worked for other accounting firms. I interned with other accounting firms. I worked for other ones. And I saw what they considered their clients. And they didn't look at their client like a business, like a person. They didn't look at the client as, hey, like, I want to have a relationship with this person. I want to know about their kids. I want to know about what they like to do, things like that. And I want to really be there to help them. It was, okay, here's a number. This is how much they pay me type thing. And they're just putting not even a face with the name of the business, not even a face with the name of the client. It's just a monetary value on them. And I'm like, that's not how any client should feel, whether they see that or not. They shouldn't feel like they're a monetary number. They should feel like, hey, there's a true interest here. There's someone who's actually looking out for stuff, understanding me, and who really and truly cares to help me build my business. So since I grew up in the small business, since I grew up in the trades, that's why I really specialized there. That's why I really specialized in small businesses. And then seeing how other firms treated clients and didn't regard them as a human being is really why I wanted to go out on my own instead of working with a huge firm or something like that.
Someone who partners with you, how often do you end up talking with them?
So Me, myself, have started moving more into a business management role. So I'm not as much client facing as I used to be. I still spend a lot of time with my clients, but we really have set up at Waterford a very, very robust system of working with our clients. Every client is assigned 3 different employees. One, which is their primary bookkeeper, who's going to be talking with them, emailing with them, maybe calling them 2 to 3 times a month at minimum, if not more, depending on questions, things that we have going on, stuff like that. Obviously, as we get to know clients more, then there's not as many questions. So a little bit of cut back there on conversation. And then they also have a secondary bookkeeper who's double checking that bookkeeper's work. They may never meet that bookkeeper, but that bookkeeper's there still cross-checking, verifying accuracy of all the information so that there's 2 sets of eyes there. Because anytime we're doing finances, there's so many things that can go wrong, so many things that can get goofed up. So having both sets of eyes there really helps to ensure accuracy there for all those involved. And then they have what we call
is it a measure twice, cut once kind of thing?
Exactly. I mean, we literally, the primary bookkeeper goes through, enters all the information. The secondary bookkeeper reviews it as if it was a brand new client that we've never worked with before and that we know that there's going to be a ton of problems with, and just tears everything apart to be able to find any duplication, any misentry of information, just to help ensure as accurate information as possible. And then there's a third set of review that happens with the advisor, as we call it, who's the primary person the client talks to. They're the ones who really understand the business, sitting down with our clients at least once a month for most clients. Some clients that are smaller, they'll sit down with only quarterly there. But most clients they're sitting down with once a month. And if there's more questions or anything like that, call in whenever. I mean, I've had clients. I mean, I met with a client earlier this week that I'm trying to understand some stuff going on. So I've called them every single day this week because I don't understand a new process that they are putting in place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've saved me a ton of money. I mean, the last phone call we had, it was like, oh, you were double charged on the dumpster fee. And we tracked it down and it was a mischarge. And if you didn't tell us, we probably would have never noticed. I had an accountant in 2019. I started my business in 2018. And in my first year of business, I might have gotten up to $1 million, maybe just under, maybe in the 800,000 range. And I was like, oh, I remember the phrase I said to myself. I said, oh, I just went through $1 million and I'm broke. I don't understand why. And James is obviously someone that you can use that can really help you with that. And when I wrote down, I have an Excel sheet of oh, well, I got years worth of banking statements. And I was like, I have to go through each reoccurring charge and then reoccurring what sometimes is monthly, sometimes is quarterly. And I realized, oh, my overhead without paying anyone at the time was, I think, $38,000. And I was like, oh, it costs $38,000 just to keep the lights on in this place on a $1 million operation a month. And I didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, well, this is why I need to charge XYZ a day and stuff like that. And James, you've also helped us on the prior year. You're like, hey, you need to raise your prices by this much, or you're doing good. You can choose if you want to lower them or if not. Knowing the average discount has been very good. So you break that down on the P&L with us. And then also I got audited and for 2020 or 2019 before you took my case. So I had an accountant prior to you, but wow, did that guy not do anything? And, I was like, oh, I'm paying this guy all this money and I'm getting audited by the IRS because I had so many red flags. And you pointed those out to me and you said, hey, this might happen. And it did happen. And you were able to help us through that. And what's really cool is if I ever get audited with you while, when did we start? 2021, maybe 2020, something.
Yeah, 2020, right? 2021 sounds about right.
Yeah. So you cover me from let's say 2021 to forever, because I don't plan on ever changing. If I get audited, it's just say, I'm getting audited, and then you're like, cool, I'm taking care of it. Mm-hmm. It's that easy. So that's gold within itself. And when you audited me in 2020, or 2019, whichever year I got audited for, my accountant that I went to once a month was off by a lot of money. And sorry, I'm coughing. He was off by a lot of money, and I had to pay a lot. I actually got a reimbursement, so that's kind of cool to get audited by the IRS, in my opinion. And they're like, "Oh, actually, you owe me money."
That's always the best way for an audit to end, is when we find the client money versus when we find the client owes money.
You've also helped me with things like my boat. How do you make a boat tax deductible legally?
That's always a fun question to bring up. But ultimately, whether it's a boat or whether it's anything else, any asset that we have as a business that is openly available for the business to use. So let's take the boat as an example. If we're utilizing that to take out clients, and we can prove we're utilizing that, if we've got a policy where employees can have certain certifications, a boating license, so many hours, provide those certifications, and turn it into the front office, they could take the boat out for a weekend or something like that. So just different ways that we can make that boat work for the business outside of just being a boat. Obviously,
I think what you're saying, James, is we need to make a company fun day and utilize the boat.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, we have our landscaping business. We would always do once a month what we called Company Fun Day. And 3-4 employees would get selected randomly, and they would get to go do something fun and random. We did zip lining. We did massages with them. Think about a bunch of like burly, gruffy landscapers getting massages, but that was their
I don't want to think about that, James.
But that was their favorite thing. Manicures, pedicures, taking them out on boats, things like that. But always doing something like that once a month. And that was a highlight for the employees because it was something that we didn't have to do, but it was just a little bonus that they got to enjoy.
So speaking of big burly massages, I'm listening to this whole discussion, just how Ryan's used you, how you've helped his client or helped his company, and I'm just thinking, like, having someone come in, especially if you've been in business for a while, it can feel probably pretty vulnerable to hire a financial firm to come in for the first time. It might be kind of scary for somebody to do that because they might feel exposed and like, hey, I'm supposed to be a businessman. I honestly, deep down, know I don't know what I'm doing with the finances. Like, what's your 60-second pitch for someone to not DIY their own business finances?
So the 60-second pitch, really, as you continue to grow your business, there's so many different variables that you have, and you cannot manage everything on your own. By having someone that you trust, and that's the big word there is trust, that can come in, help take something off your plate, and really help to explain it to you, dumb it down into really something you actually understand, not something that the IRS says, not something that are typical accounting terms, so that you can understand it, be there to support you, and also be there to look out for something that you might be doing wrong, that you might not be able to be maximizing on, finding every single way possible that we can to ensure that we are 100% maximizing every single expense that we have going on. That is why you want to look at bringing someone on outside or someone knowledgeable, not just keep DIYing it yourself.
Yeah. And if you do DIY it with a guy who is an accountant, you might still get audited. So that's great too. Obviously James is the credible guy that wouldn't let that happen or would back it up if it did. But so James, what are common things that you see when you get an account? Do you see like the owner's paying himself too much? Do you see him paying too little? We talk about CRMs. Do you see people using expensive CRMs when they don't actually need it? What are common things when you're like, oh, I'm about to save this guy so much money because he's doing X, Y, Z, or this guy needs to actually spend money because he's doing X, Y, Z. What are a couple things that we can do to improve our bottom line?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the biggest one, and Ryan, you pointed this out yourself when you said your first year of business, you did $1 million in sales and you looked at it and you said, I'm broke. Where did the money go? So many businesses are only looking at their bank account. They're not considering the entire financial flow. So the first way that we can save any client money is actually understanding the cash flow in your business and where that money is sitting right now and why it's not in your bank account, where it actually went. That's the biggest thing, step one that we try to do with any and every client, because you've never been trained to do that. You've never heard that. We always say like, hey, you want to make sure you've got money in your bank account, but just because there's money in your bank account doesn't mean that you still have profit or that you don't have profit. There's so many other factors that involve profit. And so understanding your balance sheet, understanding your statement of cash flows, that's a big thing we work with any client to understand so that we're making sure that we're maximizing how we're paying bills. We're making sure we're maximizing when we're receiving money. We're making sure that we're not overextending ourselves with loans, because loans are perfectly acceptable to a point as long as we understand what that cash outlay is going to look like and how it's going to affect you financially there. So that's the first big thing. Another big thing, especially really since 2020, that we run into a lot is people not understanding what their profit margins are. They're like, well, I know what my labor's at. I know this, I know that. And then we go through and we put stuff in and their labor is $10,000 higher than they thought, which may not sound bad to you, Ryan, but to a smaller business, that can be huge. So understanding exactly what that outlay is for labor, exactly what that outlay is for materials, and keeping up with that, because so many businesses over the past really 2-3 years were not keeping up with the constant increases that we had in material costs, the constant increases that we had from employees saying, well, I'm not making enough money or I need to make more money. So they were paying more for these materials. They were paying more for this labor. They were hiring on more employees. They were getting more expensive employees, et cetera there. But they weren't increasing their prices. So their profit was dwindling. Their net income just kept going down and down and down and down with everything. The other thing is really sitting down and understanding your ROI on your marketing. So many people really, they're like, oh yeah, like I'm paying for marketing. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk beyond paying for marketing. Is that marketing actually profitable? Is it bringing anything in? Is it doing anything for you? If so, like how much is it doing? Let's talk about that, because your marketing agency may not do that for you. They should, but a lot of them don't. So that's a lot of things that we see really straightforward and outright, and all of those can really break down into so many other things like cash flow. We can break that down into so many businesses come on and we review their AR, whether they're using a CRM or not. We review their AR and we're like, you've got $50K in outstanding AR. What are we doing to collect on this? Like, why aren't we getting this money? And making sure that we come up with processes to limit that AR. You've got nothing in AP. Why don't we have credit with your vendors so that we can wait to pay some of this off? Why are we paying for it as soon as you pick it up, even though you're not going to be paid for this job for 30 days? Like that doesn't make sense for a cash flow standard. So looking into things like that to, again, make sure we're maximizing your cash flow. And same thing with all of your expenses, understanding exactly where that money's going. so that we can say, does this make sense? Again, Ryan, something you said, double charge for the dumpster that you had. That's something you would never think about that because like, okay, cool. Like it hit my bank account. But if you're not looking at it every month, if you're not comparing it every month, if we're not digging through it every month and saying something's screwy here, that's when things get a little crazy.
James, it occurs to me that you're also, I can just tell, I mean, this is the first time I'm meeting you, but I can tell you're a teacher at heart too. So are a lot of these weekly or monthly conversations with business owners, is it teaching them things like what profit margin is and cash flow and educating them?
Correct. A lot of our clients, we really work with them to not just do it for you, because I could do it for you all day long and you could just say, okay, cool, it looks good, but actually take the time to understand what it is that I'm talking about. Because even now, I'm probably throwing out terms that you might look at and you're like, what the hell does that mean? Cool, let's talk about that. Let's break into why cash flow is important, what it does.
I wanted to go back to the profit margin thing because I was just finding myself agreeing with you while you were talking, because I noticed that in my business during COVID, and any other business owner that I talked to, I heard there was a limiting mindset that I heard around raising prices. Like, oh, my costs are going up, and like, racking their brain when that new email comes in with that new bill for whether it's related to like workman's comp, insurance is going up, or this part that I used to buy now cost a third more. And so I watched all that happen, and I watched people kind of racking their brain yet it almost seemed like on a daily basis there was a new sucker punch happening. But then there was also a reluctance to raise prices. Oh, yeah. And then employees I also felt got hindered too, because if the business isn't raising the prices that they charge for things, then they're way late to the game to increasing employees' pay so that they can handle the new cost of living that's going up. It was just moving at such a fast rate that I don't think people were prepared for it. So not that I want you to give us a whole lesson in profit margin right now, but like, is there a few key things that people can look at? Is it specific to the type of business it is? Like,
it really does depend partially on businesses. Highly labor dependent businesses are going to have a much higher labor margin than you are going to have a material margin, because landscaping, if you're just out there doing a mow, blow, and go type thing, you don't have materials per se. You've got gas, but other than that, it's labor. But
and you got a massage bill.
Yeah. Whereas like Ryan over here, you're going to have materials and you're going to have labor. So it does depend on kind of not per se the industry, but the type of jobs that you're doing. And really, when we're talking margins here, what margin is taking that expense. So our labor expense, whatever it costs for us to pay those people, the taxes, the benefits that we're offering, anything like that to employ that person. So if we pay that person $10 an hour plus benefits plus, not that anyone's paying anyone $10 an hour anymore, but take all of that and we add it together and we divide that total cost over a month or over a quarter or over a year by the income that you brought in, that's giving us our labor margin. Same thing with material margins and understanding that. And as your business grows, like the small one-man show just starting out, he's just going to want to look at materials and labor overall. But like Ryan, you're now at a point that we want to look at install versus service or commercial versus residential and breaking those margins into further breakdown so that we can see each and every area how it's working out for us there.
So is it finding key performance indicators that are specific for your company?
Correct. It's understanding what is a KPI, key performance indicator there, to really understand what matters for your business. There's going to be KPIs industry-wide, but I'm also not a fan of saying every single HVAC business is the same. Because they're not.
That's good. Yeah, it's good.
You need to look at what is your market, what's going on in your area, and figure out the KPIs that are specific to your business, not just industry wide.
Yeah. And on the KPI stuff, the way we have our accounting broken down is, not only install, but install equipment versus install material.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have industry standards for where they're supposed to be. So if I know my install material is way high, then I'm like, oh, someone's stealing from me. The accountant P&L, it really can tell you a story, and it absolutely pays for itself time and time and time again. So that was the end of my point. It's just the way it's broken down is great. And then you can also, financing is a big thing too. When I first hopped on board with you, James, we were doing 60 months no interest financing, and the dealer fee at the time was 14% or so. I think it's up to 17 or 18 now. So, it was like, hey, you want to add an extra 7% to your bottom line? Stop offering 60% no interest. You still have to offer a financing plan, so there's going to be fees involved. You're not going to get away from that. You're always going to have the financing customer. But when we switched from 60 months no interest to 120 months with 6.99, the financing customer is the financing customer. It doesn't matter if it's 120 at 6.99 or 60 months no interest. Obviously, 60 months no interest is a better deal, but the financing customer is a financing customer. And we haven't lost any customers because we switched, but we were able to add at least 7 or 10% down to the net profit line. And that's a big deal when you start doing volume.
Yes.
So that was another big thing you helped us out with.
Yeah. James, I'm realizing like the average business owner, we all are rightly so reluctant to add new cost to our business, and because people are coming from all different kind of angles, offering subscription this, subscription that. We can help you with this. We can help you with that. Accounting is one of those things that you really can't DIY. And it's something that it's really, really important to do it right. And the cost of failure is really high when it comes to these kind of financial services. So I mean, getting a sense of your company and what you do, I think it's awesome, because it's a mysterious area for a lot of people. And it's also something where you said it before. Number one thing is that they can trust you, and you're building a relationship, and you're building solutions for people that are specific for their case, not cookie cutter. So I think you're doing it great, man. I'm excited about your company. So real quick, like how can people stay connected with you? I think you and Ryan had a deal to share with our listeners too. So
yeah, absolutely. We love to talk to people. Like you don't have to be hidden behind an email or something like that. Feel free, if you want to check us out more, go straight to our website, go to waterfordbusiness.com. It's got different industries we serve, what we do with them, all the services that we can offer you, and multiple ways to contact us. But if you're at the point of like, hey, I know there's an issue, I just want to talk with someone, just call us. Give us a call, 864-351-0852. We'll be happy to talk with you there, help you out there, and get you scheduled to actually talk with me or one of the other advisors to go over kind of what's going on in your business, what issues you're having, and pinpoint what it is that we can work on to make your business better. As far as kind of offer, we're really proud to announce and let everyone know here for Atlas clients and everyone listening, we're happy to go ahead and provide you a discounted onboarding fee. Any client that we bring on for bookkeeping, accounting, anything like that, there's a lot of work that we have to put into get to know you, to get all of your information, your finances and everything there. But to help you get off on the right foot and help you get started with everything, we want to go ahead and offer a $550 discount on onboarding for any clients that come from Atlas and help you guys out to really get a solid base for your accounting started there.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, we want to provide value to the Atlas people. Atlas is the company Nate and I run that helps other companies be more successful. And thank you for making that offer and making it easier for our clients to get in contact with you. And also, if they sign up with you, making it easier on their pockets. So I think that's really cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. James, thanks for coming on the show today. It was awesome having you.
Perfect. Well, awesome having you guys too. Thank you so much. And y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'm glad that I got to speak with you and all of your listeners.
Yeah, thank you.